Good afternoon and hello. Welcome to today's podcast where we will be exploring some of the secret codes to successfully conduct business and build relationships with the Arabian Gulf. The Arabic term for it is Al-Khalij Al-Arabi, or the Arabian Peninsula, the Arabian Gulf, and not the Middle East. The reason I say this, and I wanted to mention this, is because I hear a lot of people calling that region the Middle East, and I invite them to stop doing so. The term itself is Eurocentric, colonialist construct that implies a centric worldview. It reinforces a binary worldview that places the Western world at the center of the universe. Furthermore, the term implies that the region is somehow in the middle of something. So in order to accurately and respectfully reflect the diversity and complexities of the cultures and societies in that part of the world, we can refer to it as West Asia, Southwest Asia, or simply put or refer to it as specific country or name of the country. So I want to put that out there for everyone that is listening to us. But today we have a wonderful guest. And I was reading her biography and I just didn't know where to start. So we are thrilled to have her with us. She's expert in the region, and I'm sure that her insight and expertise will captivate and enlighten us all. Madam or Lady Maria Hall, I see that you have impressive resume. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, please?
Thank you, Mona. I'm truly honored that you've asked me to be on your podcast, and it's such an honor, and specifically because you're representing as well from a very rich expertise as well, and mixed culture as I am myself. So I'll just get it out the way. I'm British Italian. I've lived in the Middle East for more than 28 years. Do the calculation for the age. And so I've worked from C-suite to royal offices and board level, and I was the main point of contact for visiting USA and European presidents, members of the Saudi, Bahrain, and UAE royal family, Gulf ministers, entertainers, and international VIP dignitaries. As well as that, I have the operational and also banking background. So that gives me a lead in with corporate, so I can understand two different entities. So people coming from corporate organizations as well as diplomatic, and marrying the two, basically. I also was the VIP protocol manager for the Invictus Games, which is an initiative run by Prince Harry. Last year it was in the Netherlands, and this year it will be Germany. As well as being a protocol expert for a Diplomatic World magazine, and so on and so forth. I don't want to talk too much about myself, so I'll just put my bio away. And
well, it's so impressive. And so that's why, I was reading over everything that I had, and I said, wow, how can I represent her fairly and give her the clout? The beauty of what she's done so far in her life, and give it an importance and also a value. So I'm glad that you mentioned some of the aspects of what you've been doing, and I'm sure that your insight will enlighten us all. So let's call it from now on throughout the show, we're going to call it the Arabian Gulf or Khalij. Whatever we decide on, it will be the term we will use. So where do we start? I know you have a lot to say because you have a lot of experience. And one thing that I observe, and I know a lot of delegations, a lot of trade missions go out to, for example, you are residing right now in the UAE, and they take everybody to Dubai, and you and I know how commercialized Dubai is, and they think that once they go there, they will automatically do business.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you.
Take it from there and tell us what happens.
So I think people with the media and the misconceptions, a lot of the misconceptions are negative, to be honest, from international. I'm not talking about America. I'm talking more in Europe. And when people arrive here, they're absolutely gobsmacked. They can't believe the wonder, the safety aspects of doing business here. It's well regulated. And each year they go above and beyond to outdo any other counterparts, and making sure that expats, and I put the emphasis on expats, are considered not just a resident, but they're considered national, and they're treated equally as a national would be treated. So, I mean, that's always a plus in any country where you go. And I think people also come here with the illusion of the roads are paved in gold. They come, they have a great business idea, and I think they undermine and underestimate as well the UAE. I'll specifically talk about UAE, where business is done. They undermine their intelligence, so they come up with all these sort of products and ideas, and it's a little bit of insulting intelligence, and then they quickly learn that they really need to up their game, because globally there is a lot of competition. So whether it's an American organization to Eastern Europe, for example, Poland or Italy or France or the UK, the competition is fierce. So when you do arrive, you need to have your A game on, as the Americans would say.
I am glad that you mentioned undermine and underestimate, and I see that a lot. And I have visited the region before, obviously business trip, and I've seen it firsthand. I mean, they're highly sophisticated in so many aspects, and we cannot compare the United States, where I'm at, with the UAE, because obviously we're comparing apple to oranges. But I tell people they're highly sophisticated, and in terms of just going out there and thinking that you will get business without understanding the culture. Again, when people go to, most of the time they go to Dubai, right? And
yes,
Dubai
absolutely.
is really not so much a representative of the UAE culture. They may be nationals there, but from my experience, there are minority in Dubai. Maybe if we go elsewhere, yes. So here's what I see. A lot of people obviously go out there with these ideas that you said and everything, and they have no clue how to do business with the Emiratis, the UAE people, the nationals. So what should we know about the UAE culture?
Well, I'll first start off with Ramadan Kareem.
Ramadan Kareem.
Because it is Ramadan, or Ramadan Mubarak, Ramadan Kareem. It is Ramadan here, and that is another aspect that newcomers or even international businesses who may have come here, never to dismiss the emphasis on the religious values that this part of the world has, and it's taken serious. So I think people should do a little bit of homework in Ramadan, not drinking in public, for example. If you have a meeting, don't offer You know, do you want food? Do you want coffee? Be respectful. Because again, you don't know the male or female, if they're fasting, they may have an excuse, but to save face, don't offer food or water. And basically, if it's an hour meeting, you know, just try to have some self-restraint from eating or drinking in front of them, purely out of respect.
Mm-hmm.
They may even say to you, oh, I'm fine with that, I don't mind it. But I think go the extra mile and demonstrate that you're being respectful in those terms. And try to do meetings a little bit later than normal. So rather than 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, perhaps do some meetings after 10 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
And do them in environments where, for example, a lot of meetings happen here in hotels. Make sure it's not in a bar or near a bar where there is alcohol. These small little nuances are really, really important. And somebody's going to monitor that and say, oh, this person has really, you know, extended respect to me. And that's a mental note for your Emirati counterpart.
Okay.
So I think Ramadan, observing the aspect of Ramadan. I mean, I could go into great detail, but I think people can read. And I saw from your LinkedIn that you did an interfaith iftar.
Iftar, yes.
And I love that. So in order for people to get a little bit more awareness, then I think it's best to insert them into an environment where they can ask questions, and you did such a great job.
Well, I was not the one that put it together. I was invited, but the people who put it together, I commend them for that, because the only way we can learn about each other is having an open communication and providing an experience where people can ask questions and get answers, because we hear so much, and there's so many misconceptions that if we're not really asking the right people, obviously we will get a lot of mistakenly or mistaken statement. Now, I tell people to figure out what the cultural norms are and how they differ from their home countries. And I am going to use real quick for the viewers the mentions of Andy Molinsky, who was a professor at one of the universities here in the United States. And these dimensions is about directness, enthusiasm, formality, assertiveness, and self-promotion and self-disclosure. Again, I will repeat them: directness, enthusiasm, formality, assertiveness, self-promotion, and self-disclosure. What would you say about the local culture where you are as far as directness and enthusiasm?
Enthusiasm, definitely. They are very enthusiastic. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a UAE, because they've welcomed more than 160 nationalities, and they've created an environment, not only a business environment, but a living environment. So they're very enthusiastic about inclusiveness, for sure, about doing business with their international counterparts. In terms of what was the second to last?
In directness, there's how direct are people in there. If you are, obviously you're doing business with the nationals. I'm sure when I went there, I've witnessed the largest foreign community that I've seen in any part of the world. It's right there in Dubai.
Yes.
And then you can have the Spaniard, and they're doing their own things, the Italians, the Germans, the Dutch, the Finns. I mean, I couldn't believe it. It was beautiful to watch. It's a beautiful thing to see. And the way they welcome in people is just tremendous. But at the same time, if you're dealing with the locals or the nationals, as they call them,
Yes.
is a little bit different than dealing with these pockets of different cultures in there. I know if you are dealing with Germans or other nationalities, they're very direct. But when you're dealing with UAE nationals in their communication styles, how direct are they?
Now, when we talk about directness, I believe they, first of all, they want to save their own face, and as well as the person, whether it's in a meeting or a social interaction, they would be less direct, because I worked with a German bank. My son studied in Holland, and I could see the directness and the straightforwardness is opposed to GCC. They would be less direct. They would try to be more diplomatic, and I would say they would probably be leaning more towards the high context. So you would have to clue into the nonverbal, the body language, and get a quick understanding. They wouldn't be as low context where the message is delivered in what they're saying. I think they would definitely lean towards more being respectful, not embarrassing anyone else in the room. They're also very humble people. So if you're with a VIP, they are the most humble people. There's none of this, do you know who I am? And it's always the people who give themselves these glorious titles and do you know who I am are actually the polar opposite. So when you see the Emiratis or the Saudis or the Qatari, I'm talking about VIPs or dignitaries, they're super humble. You could be sitting in a room or a meeting, you will not know who is in front of you. And again, I'll give you a small example. When I was working in the German bank, we had a high VIP meeting with one of the Sheikh's office, an investment, semi-government investment office. And so we all went and they took me there, even though it wasn't my particular arena, but it was more from the cultural aspect and the protocol. And we went and we had to wait. And I did warn them that their sense of time is a little bit different. And so the appointment was 9 o'clock. And the Germans, being Germans, were watching the watch and the clock is ticking and it comes to 10 o'clock and I'm having to calm them down and say, look, this is part and parcel of doing business at that level. I'm not saying further down the line it's like that, but these people are very busy. The fact that they're sitting in front of you, they have other diplomatic and governmental things that they take care of. So it was 10:30 and they were not happy campers. And I told them that they have to, put on their smile and never ask, excuse me, why are you late, for example? Or, excuse me, I have to go to another meeting because, you delayed me. I mean, you would not be that verbal. You would have to just sit on your temper or arrogance and just sit. The person will come, and everybody was seated. So they were talking only to the males in the national costume, the beautiful white crisp costume, and they smell beautiful as well. And we were sitting there and it was purely about business. They didn't introduce themselves properly. They didn't do the small talk. And that's a very important factor. I always tell people, if you're going to do business, expect the first meeting to be more of the small talk and the social aspect, because they want to get to know you. They want to know who I'm doing business with. So you build your trustability and credibility in the first meeting, but expect to go back for a second. Anyway, cut a long story short, they were addressing one male, and there was two females sitting there, and they completely ignored the two females sitting there, Emirati. And after the meeting rolled up, I kind of read the body language. I read because you have to read the room.
Yes.
And I read the room, and actually it was a sheikha, which is a princess, was sitting there, and she was the key decision maker, and they completely ignored her.
Oh my goodness. So you had
So-
Sheikha in there, and you
Yes.
Sheikha, how can you do that?
Because they don't do this whole fanfare. They
know.
don't say, I'm here. How dare you? Do you know who I am? Again, going back to the humility, but definitely the body language. Read the room and understand that this lady is because the gentleman kept turning towards her. He kept reflecting back to her, once he was trying to address whatever questions. Anyway, we kind of redeemed ourselves, because I did say to them, you need to take a gift. And that's a very important part, especially on that level, to take a nice gift, something, of course, not a bottle of wine or, some salami from Italy. But we assume that people know these things, but that's where I come in. So I come in, particularly in Expo, training some of the delegations, mentoring them, hand-holding them throughout the Expo. So just pointing out these small nuances, but these can make or break a deal.
Absolutely. And I agree with you. And here's the thing. I believe a lot of people, number one, they don't do their homework well enough, okay? Or they get an overview of what the culture is like, and they implement it without, like you said, reading the room, or without asking question prior to starting a meeting. And I've seen it as well. I know exactly what you're talking about, because I've seen it. I was there. It happened in front of my eyes. And I said, wow, people can at least take some time and understand. And usually the first day, you don't discuss business regardless, because obviously whether the business is about, well, obviously the meeting is about business, but you don't discuss business right away. And so often people go out there, and during the first meeting, first of all, they carry that arrogant, I don't want to call it anything, but they think they're better than those people, okay? And I've seen it, I felt it. And they go there, sometimes even late to meetings, and they expect to get on business talk and the deal talk right away. And it doesn't happen. You're going to lose those people right away, because I tell you what, they spend millions of dollars. The region is rich. The region is, like you said, sophisticated, well informed, and globally informed, and they know what's happening. And so often we go out there with this misconception that we're going there, our products are the best, our services are the best, and whatever we say goes. And no, that does not happen. Have some respect for the local culture. Ask a lot of questions prior, and have that sense of culture agility, or that dexterity, because once you are in a global environment, you have to become global, meaning how to navigate through the situation. There are so many ways you can. Obviously, your personality is a big deal, because some of us, all of us, or some of us have different personalities. Either they integrate or adapt quickly, or they don't. Plus, their lack of knowledge of the culture. Plus, they're not reading the room well, or they have not done their homework. Now, the question is this: you being English, Italian, and then you moved to the region. I mean, I'm sure that you had some kind of curiosity, some kind of love for the culture. Otherwise, you wouldn't be there. How would you say, or how would you tell people, how do you diagnose the cultural differences for someone like you from a different background going to either Saudi Arabia or UAE? How do they need to diagnose the cultural differences?
I would, for me personally,
Uh-huh.
when I went to Saudi Arabia, I was very young and I was so interested in this rich culture and heritage that I went above and beyond, and I learned Arabic purely by listening. I didn't go to formal Arabic lessons, and just learning some key phrases opened the doors. People felt more comfortable with me, and so they guided me a little bit better. Whereas had I mean, I had a couple of other English friends who totally were insular, did not want to mix with any of the other, let's say, locals or Saudi nationals. And they treated them with this, I used to say they're not the boogeyman. I mean, they had this fear. And so they would keep this big distance between them and never took the effort. So I agree with you when you say do your homework, but I think, like you also said, you have to integrate and ask the questions in environments that might not be comfortable for you, but go along. For example, especially here now in UAE, you can enter the mosques. There will be a guide. Go to those real cultural, don't just stick to the financial sector and go to the hotels and stay in that little safe zone. You know, expand outside of that. And honestly, Emiratis are very kind. They're highly educated. They are, well, they wouldn't be so successful in a country to grow at this rocket speed if they didn't have the social aspects and the emotional intelligence to go along with the normal, you know, intelligence. And so that's why I think it's really important, if you want to do business here, ask an expert like yourself. I'm sure they can contact you as well, because you also have an inside view. People like myself who actually are living in the region. It doesn't make sense. If I want to visit France, I'm not going to contact an English lady who lives in UAE. I'm going to go to France, and I'm going to, even if she's an English lady living in France, but she's got the background. So I think having the word, oh dear, where you live and you're integrated into the community. So pick someone like that with that expertise. And in terms of the Emiratis, where their relationship style, I would say, going back to some of the constraints, they have Dubai and Abu Dhabi work a little bit differently. So it's not one size fits all. In Abu Dhabi, for example, it's more, the culture is relationship oriented, and they are much more inclined. You will see more Emiratis.
Yeah.
Definitely, because of the governments and all the embassies are located there, and they have a great art scene. So it's more relationship based, and hence people should not expect right off the bat, go in, you know, here's my product, sign the contract and off we go. They don't do business like that. Dubai tends to be a little bit more influence because of the banking sector, which is based on British law, the DIFC, Dubai International Financial Center. So they have a lot of expats, as you pointed out, and you'll see lots more expats. So those expats bring their individual cultures into an organizational culture.
Yeah.
So there's two ways to approach it. Look at the organization, look at their organizational culture, and then deal with the individuals, because you're going to deal with Indian, you will deal with British, with American, with French, South African, with African. Yeah. So
Wow.
I think Dubai works a little bit differently.
Yeah. What an interesting. I would love to be in that kind of environment, just watching how do they come up with an agreement when there is a decision to make, or how do they resolve conflicts, because you're talking about a whole lot of nationalities in there, and personalities and cultures are influencing everything that they do. Wow. Now let's talk about opportunities. In terms of opportunities, what would you tell people? I know there's a lot of changes, and there are a lot of changes throughout the world, and I'm sure it's impacting the region as well. But where you are, how does it look like as far as opportunities for growth, for business, for whatever it is?
Even when other countries were in a little bit recession, UAE, honestly, they really handled the way they did business, particularly in COVID. And so it was pretty much business as usual. Pretty much. I'm not saying when I compare, and again, we have to compare apples with apples, but the opportunities are there. They came out of it and they saw valuable lessons, which I think most people did globally. And so sustainability, agri-tech is, the big buzzwords around right now. You've got mega projects, farming, and being more self-reliant. The financial is still there. That's still elevating itself. The regulatory and structure, they're always improving upon it. You have now people coming with the NFTs, and there's a huge art movement. I would honestly, going across all industries, everything is represented here, and I see a growth, particularly in crypto. There's lots of events around that. And also another highlighted point that you and I discussed before the podcast was women of impact.
Yes, I was just going to mention that. Go ahead.
Again, people have lots of misconceptions, and hopefully you and I can further address this about removing some of those misconceptions about females and gender roles. The sheikhs here are amazing leaders, and they are forever behind the females. So they heavily invest in female education, and they've been doing that for many years, which the West does not know about. They send them abroad. They'll send them to Australia, to the States, to Europe, wherever is necessary. And they've been doing that for a long time. So they heavily invest in the females. Not only that, we have a lot of females in ministries, in decision-making roles. And I mean, I can name a few if you would like.
Yeah, please. I am in the middle of writing a book about Arab women leadership in business, and I'm sure that I can use your insight. But go ahead and tell us more about this if you'd like at this moment, and also the term empowerment, because we do hear a lot of empowerment, and sometimes people may confuse what empowerment means.
Yes, well, you and I are on the same page about that. And that's another thing that I learned as well, the Islamic protocols, and part of the females in the society, that whatever she earns is hers, whether her father, her brothers, her husband, her sons, no one can dictate to her how she spends it. And she can have her own finances, and she doesn't have to announce or declare it to anybody. And that stems from the Islamic ruling for females.
Yes.
They've had for 1400 years. It's not 50 you and 50 me.
Yeah.
And there's another misconception. And also on top of that, the female does not have to adopt the husband's name.
Right.
And I see this movement, I'll talk about England because I have firsthand knowledge, that women now do not want to take their husband's name, and they want to maintain the maiden name.
Maiden name.
Yeah. And that's been going on again, because then a woman is recognized, her lineage, her heritage from her family by her name, which will be different from, so there's no confusion.
Yeah.
We can dive into that, but I think I just want to superficially touch upon that. So we have these great women in impactful roles, and I use that word, impactful, because you and I agree on empowerment, and the women are, it kind of undermines what we are, and we're already empowered, right? We're great multitaskers and beyond and beyond. And so we have someone like Raja Al-Gurg. She's a managing director of a diversified group in the UAE. We have another one, Fatima Al-Jaber Group, UAE. She's the group CEO running, you know, these amazing companies. We have also Sheikha Al Mesa bint Hamad Al Thani from Qatar. She's the chairwoman of the museums. The list goes on, and I can send a link to you where people can see the Forbes 100 women in the Middle
Yes.
East. They say Middle East,
that
wasn't my term. That wasn't my term. And then we have all these women running banks and running great industries, even aviation. We have pilots and captains from UAE. So women are really in the forefront. And, you know, this gender equality, definitely the leaders of these countries understand what it means and are ready to back their women, and they do it publicly and they do it privately, and it's wonderful. And I'm so blessed that I live in this environment, in this country, because I see the great works that these women are doing for international women. And I think we can do you know, something great, an event around that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so glad that you mentioned this because I always tell people, listen, women in that part of the world, and I am a product of a similar culture. I've never been oppressed. I've never been undermined. My family was always pushing me to do better and supported me in everything I wanted to do. I mean, I came to the United States as soon as I turned 21. I didn't have anybody here. I came to a country where I knew no one, and in different cultures with my suitcase, and just, hey, this is what I gotta do. This is what I gotta do. And when I tell people, when you hear, or if you ever come across a statement or observation, whatever, that tells you women are oppressed in that part of the world, just nod and say, oh, okay. But I tell you this, think of this like male and female. The male is the head, but the female is the neck, and the neck is the one moving.
Is the one that moves the head. Oh my gosh, that's something I use.
Okay, so that's pretty much the same thing. There's a lot that we can talk about, and I know you're very busy. I'm sure that Ramadan in your side of the world is beautiful and has a different atmosphere than the regular days. And then you get together a lot with friends and family. I am so thankful for everything that you shared with us. And hopefully we have given a just tiny glimpse on not so much the region, but I'll say where you live at the UAE. If there is any questions or any concerns or whatever you need help with in that part of the world, please do not hesitate to reach out. We're here to help. We're here to connect. We're here to bridge the gap and help you understand the dimensions of how cultures functions for you to do better business, for you to avoid any misunderstanding and basically build a great relationships. That's the purpose of everything we do, whether it is at a personal level or professional, organizational level. We're here to make a difference. Any final statement before we say goodbye, Maria?
I agree with everything you've said. I think it is about relationship building and being more culturally sensitive, culturally intelligent. And I really thank you for giving me the stage. I just touched upon some small things, but I did want to talk about the females in the region, and hopefully, you know, you and I can do much more. And you said you're writing a book, so that should be wonderful to read about the great females in history and present day from the region, and people like yourself from your wonderful background. And at 21, you rolled up your sleeves and you said, right, how do I move forward? How do I conquer this? And that was like myself, in order, you know, do as the Romans do. So when I went to Saudi, it wouldn't be of any benefit for me to keep that safe distance. You've got to integrate and roll up your sleeves and ask questions. And it really will make someone warm to you that you've asked them something, because it shows that you care. Yeah,
ask questions and do not hesitate to ask for help, because usually people are willing to help. So anytime you find yourself in a situation where you're confused, not sure what to do, ask. And ask not only question, but ask for help. So I am so thankful. I'm so thankful that that we met.
Shukran.
Shukran.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. I hopefully will come and visit you soon. And we'll do some work that will be impactful and beneficial to a lot of people. And just, I tell everybody, life is so simple. Let's not complicate it. Let's not complicate any aspect of it. And it starts with opening our minds and heart and being respectful. Then we go in and try to understand, comprehend, and appreciate. Until next time, stay safe and stay well. Thank you so very much, my dear. Thank you.
Thank you. God bless. Take
care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.